Okay, so Sire Denathrius phase 1 is pretty easy. To start the pull, we'll be stacking on our appropriate markers as shown in the Google Sheet. This is just because on Mythic, you cleave those around you during Cleansing Pain, causing them to drop an additional stack. So you can kind of game the system and drop a lot of stacks on the first, popping a lot of cooldowns and whatnot. You'll see this here, a lot of the raid will go down to 3 stacks. And as you might imagine, this would make this blood price one of the most dangerous ones. So because of that, we're all going to pop personals or DRs on this, especially because there's no spiritual to cover it. Anyway, so every person will be assigned a 900 to soak between right, this one here being right, center, and left. Okay, this one is right on the sheet. So just go from that. And then notice how they have these crisscross. So the right goes far left, the left goes far right, and center goes center. That's so the tank can soak all of them. The biggest thing though is just to make your line soakable. And by that, that just means that like this guy shouldn't be over here on top of this and so on. That's the biggest thing. Like you cannot cover up where people are stuck on the line. Um, so yeah. In general, if you're helping to soak, the easiest thing to do is just go to the Sire shape and just be like as close to that as possible. Anyway, let's still only pop a DR on. Anyway, kind of the same thing. And then another Night Hunter. Always soak the right, so head over. And you know if you're soaking if you have this little red effect on you. Anyway, for this Ravage, you can take the gateway over. You can also cheat towards the mid if you want to like, if you're stuck in globals the whole time. It's not too important. Cheating to mid kind of lowers the distance you need to run. Anyway, it's the exact same thing here, basically. Same stuff on the Night Hunters. Like, just notice position about like where these people are running to. This isn't like the most important thing, but it's just consistent and it helps. It's not the most important thing in the world, but it'll make your line soakable. Just when you get the effect, just try and quickly figure out which of the 3 dudes is focusing you. Like, just stop, do that first, and then move into position, and it'll save you some headache. Rather than like move around and like look back. Just take the time to figure that out first. Same thing, same thing. This phase is very straightforward. It has high numbers to start with in terms of damage, but anyway, for this one, we'll use Raggle's Roar to handle this Ravage. So again, we're just clearing. Also, if you miss your stack, you can just come in and clear just like on Heroic. If you even need to like, if it's like the 6-1 and you need to clear 2 stacks, you can ask for someone to cleave on you. And just hop a personal. Pretty much follow the same as this Heroic. Like if you miss, just go in the next ones and so on. If you miss the first one, you have to go in like 3 more times or cleave someone. So just like keep that in mind and watch your stacks. So first thing I do here, I evaluate which Nether is mine. Okay, I have the left one, so I'm gonna go right. And I mean that's it. It can be harder when you're standing like melee in the boss to figure out which one is which, but don't panic. Try and get it right. But if you don't, it's not a big deal. The last thing here is that Sire doesn't phase till 70.6%. So ideally, you get him as close to that as possible. Have him start casting Ravage, and then you just nuke him a bit. Just cheat in like maybe 0.5% or so. Now, notice that 5 players have 6 stacks, but only the DKs and the shamans can avoid it. So obviously we have a couple people we need to grip, and this is intentional, this is by design. So we have the rogues on this kill, not clear stacks. For us, it'll be Mala and Raggle to start with, we may change things. And then the Shadow Priest calls out which one he's gripping, then I grip the other. And really quick, you can see on the map, I'm like trying to find out where they are quickly so you can get them grip as soon as I get over. So for phase 2, quickly orient your camera by looking at Sire. Range go left, melee go right, Sire is north. Get that into your head very quickly because it's really important not to get that confused during progression. Now for this part, I'm gonna do melee first, so ranging skip ahead. I'll try and put like an annotation or link or something to do so. Um, so yeah, so for melee, we're gonna have a lock gate go over to the platform, and Boston Memornia comes over as well, and you kind of just nuke all of them down. Hunters are also taking part in this. Keep that in mind. Now, when whenever Shade gets to 66 and 33, it spawns an ad, and you can see it here on the side. Kick these as fast as possible, and after 5 kicks, they die. It's important to get this done before we get gripped back over from the kind of destruction. So you see the grips are going out pretty quickly here, or the kicks, sorry, rather. We'll have 2 rotations, one for X and one for Skull. And then make sure to be watching for the range ad shooting over like little like projectiles over you see the one just went past on this side. So watch your feet for the crescendo on grips too. Just keep that in mind. Be prepared to maybe pop a movement or goblin jump or something and we get knocked off. Or just watch the ground. It'll be way easier for us because it's red. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, you go through. At this point, hunters, you would actually have gone back. For the melee, to get to this guy, just hit him with any ability. And within 25 yards, you'll be gripped over. If you don't have any ability to hit from 25 yards, I think you all do. But if you didn't, you would have to like an ability over, obviously. And then you just beat this dude. Watching out for the massacre. It's pretty straightforward. And then you'll be gripped out again by Sire at the end of this. You can hit Remornia for a little bit, the tank has it over, and then boom. Now for range, we go left, pixel stuff and gateway for the melee. And then we just smack Sincere while dodging the circles. If the melee miss one of the kicks on the ads, we'll probably wipe because we'll lose the damage, but just keep that in mind as a possibility. And if you can maybe track the cast, it might be hard. You can see when you would need to like cancel spells because if function doesn't interrupt the melee ad cast. Anyway, we finished that, have fools, get gripped over, pretty straightforward. Now, this part's tricky. Pixel again, you need to set up your gateway to go over here for the locks. And also the mages will be doing some alter time stuff. I don't really have a good POV of this, so I'm gonna try and share some Warcraft log replays for the mages and Pixel to look at. Everyone else goes through. You wait for these impales to resolve or to cast, and then once you see a Sahani, you go back. And then you get way over and you just make sure you're in the shroud to hit them. It's pretty straightforward. There'll be a massacre during this. Which can definitely cause problems. If we have issue bursting this out, we'll probably like maybe try and control the massacre better because that does kind of reduce uptime, but we should be fine. Watch these. You can be knocked when you're being pulled. You can actually be knocked out by a crescendo. That's why you see me like move to the side. So it's like I don't move back. I move to the side. So if we get pulled, it won't spawn on me. Like spawn in front of me and knock me potentially. All right. So the melee should be back now, and we're all here together here. We're gonna start with. Let me show this impale positioning here. So basically, it's a little bit far from the ideal, but what we want to do is you want to have one person at this corner, the mouses here and here. That just keeps out of the way, keeps like the blood pools out of the way and stuff, and then makes it so no one gets double hit. During this time, be careful of wrecking pain going from Sire through these 2 melee guys, so make sure you're not in the line of fire because you're going to get clapped and potentially die. You usually die if anything happens to you. And then we all sit here. Pretty much don't hit the melee Kabbalahs unless they're debuffed, and just be focusing on pushing Sire. Anyways, the Massacre, pretty straightforward. Massacre is always targeted on a player, so you can really control, like, knowledge of that crescendo is targeted on a player, and Massacre is targeted on a player, helps you control, like, your movement on that. Anyway, so you should be hitting Sire here. Once again, the Impales are run out. Hopefully they do a better job than what we did. So yeah, it's like 2 to a side. Ideally, this person here should have been further down to be safe. It's not that important. Um, Mostly just check the diagram too on the Google Sheet for a clearer depiction. Anyway, so when the third ad set spawns, the tanks and melee will head over while the range finish off the previous ones. Then after the Racking Pain, we just nuke them down while avoiding this massacre. And we'll have Crescendo during this as well, because Sires will die, so let's be mindful of it. But the movement of Massacre is somewhat predictable, and the Crescendo is extremely predictable, so it's pretty simple to play around. Now, on this one, Remornia can be on the opposite side of the room, so just be mindful of the line. So you see the first, 1 second. Okay, yeah, see this here. Everyone be mindful of that. So that's like after the third set of ads, we'll have Remornia really far. So just watch out. If the first Impale guy is like standing over here, it's gonna be like right through melee. So really be mindful. Anyway, we're hitting Sire here. Don't really worry too much about the Cabbalas until they get the debuff. So now we finish them off. We want to finish it off before the Hand of Destruction, obviously. We have plenty of time. Basically, Stage 3, unlike in Heroic and Normal, has like a set 3-minute timer on it. So the goal here is to get Sire as low as possible before this timer expires. Ideally, we get them to 40% and sort of push from the percentage right before the timer expires. But you want to wait as long as possible either way. Like if we were pushing super fast, we would hold just for cooldowns to be back up and stuff. So yeah, we're probably calling the hold here. So we have like 9 seconds left. So we're just gonna chill and wait over. Finish off the Cabbalas if they're still in there, and then begin phase 3.